Hey everyone, I'm Kim with Abundant Life Tarot. Welcome back. Thank you all so much for joining me today. And we are doing another installment, another episode of Where's the Deck Now? And this series was born, I should say, from me wanting to be transparent with all of you, sharing with you what ended up happening with the decks, where did they end up, do I still have them, what do I think of them, and how am I using them today? So I am just simply going through my playlist of unboxings and picking out what decks that we are going to either vote on to discuss for future Where's the Deck Now videos, or if I have an unpublished unboxing, meaning I recorded it sometime back when, but I just never published it. I will also share if I still have that deck or not, or how I'm working with it. So if you're curious to see where is the deck now, where is the Tarot of the Sweet Twilight, stay tuned. Okay, why did I buy this deck? Why did I buy the Tarot of the Sweet Twilight? Well, I was definitely drawn to the art style. The art style drew me right in. It is like a Tim Burton inspired deck, or the art style is anyway, and it's a low Scarabeo deck. And I was drawn to it because it really just spoke to me for what I could see using it in like breakup, like relationship issue type readings, shadow work type readings. It just had a certain mood to it that I thought would, bring about or evoke a lot of intuitive information about a person's situation, particularly dealing with relationship issues. So I had a specific purpose in mind for what I wanted to use the deck for, but also I just really love the art style and thought it would be a deck I could pull off my shelf from time to time and just appreciate the artwork. So that's why I bought this deck. What was the connection between me and this deck? Well, I consider myself very much a cerebral type of reader, very much leaning towards the swords type of energies. And so for me, I love the shadow as much as I love the light of situations, of people, of things. I don't skirt away from the shadow or find it scary. So I was a believer in this deck that it was one that definitely showed some shadow aspects in a very evocative way with its art style. And I really just wanted a deck that paid homage to the love of whimsical and the love of sublime. And this deck really, it hits the mark with that. If you've seen the Tarot of Sweet Twilight, Tarot of the Sweet Twilight, or you own it, you know what I'm talking about. And for those of us who grew up in a time when Tim Burton films were, really popular, I don't know. I haven't really been watching films lately, so I don't know if there's still a lot of Tim Burton movies out there. But back when, I just loved it. I love the dark side of things, especially in cartoons. So I appreciated that. So that was what really drew me into this deck. That's honestly what drew me in. Okay, some tips or comments that I have about this deck. So here's the thing. In my unboxing video, I mentioned that I wanted to edge the cards because I thought with those beautiful moody colors that are found in that deck, I was like, oh, it would be so cool to edge it in like a beautiful dark red or a black, like edging the cards, each card. But sadly, I never got a chance to do that. But if you own the deck or you're thinking about getting it, a fun and easy way to spruce up the deck is by trimming off like because Los Scarabeo will have like the different languages of the card, like the card key meaning, not card key meaning, but the cards, like, so if it's the Eight of Swords, it'll have that information on the edges. So if you're not really into that, you can trim that part off if you're, called to do that. Or you can edge it. Another thing is that with this deck, you really need to be patient and take your time getting to know it. It is a slow burn type deck. You're not you're not going to necessarily just dive in and just start using it. At least that was my experience. It was one that I had to constantly pull out, use it, get comfortable with it, because there will be some cards that come up that you may be unfamiliar with. And so, you've got to give yourself some space and time. Some people read thoroughly and like intuitively, meaning they are just simply going with what they're picking up on the images, as well as what they are intuitively getting, feeling up as they're looking at the cards to their, querence questions. But there's some of us, like myself, that like to combine like the Rider-Waite-Smith meanings, as well as what I'm picking up intuitively, as well as what's going on in the artwork. So if you're someone who's more book driven in how you interpret your cards, it will take some time to get to know this deck. So that would be a main tip that I have for this tarot deck. Okay, now for some honest feedback about the deck, okay? And I'm just looking down at my notes in case you're wondering, why is she glancing down? What I'm glad about, oh, this mosquito. What I'm glad about what Los Scarabeo started to do in later years of my collecting their decks is they stopped putting the borders around with the multi-languages or what have you. It wasn't that I necessarily loathe them, but when you compare those decks to the ones they make now, where it's truly borderless, I like that better. Okay, so that's some honest feedback. And so that's why I suggested earlier that maybe for those who it really bothers, you could just simply trim off those edges or borders. I'm particularly fond of the Hermit card in this deck. I also really love the Strength card. It shows a woman taking off her mask in the face of the lion. And I'm so here for that. Like, that is a beautiful depiction of the Strength card. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why I end up getting this deck, okay? The Death card is interesting. I wrote here, it says, being carried across the threshold of transformation is an interesting take on the Death card meaning. I like that, being kind of ushered over the transformation, leaning into it, releasing to what is. That was powerful for me. I have to admit, I think that when I did the unboxing back when, I think it was 2018, 2019, I don't remember, but it'll be in the description box of when I did the unboxing. Plus, I will put a link to the original unboxing I did for this deck, so you can check that out as well. I'm still not a fan of the Three of Cups. I could tell I wasn't a fan of it back when, and I'm not a fan of it now. I didn't make any specific notes why I just didn't care for it. So this is where I leave it up to you, the viewer, to decide for yourself on how you feel about the Three of Cups. One part of the Cups suit is that I enjoyed a lot is the Eight of Cups. The Eight of Cups is not to be missed. It's a very special card, and I could tell I felt that way back when I unboxed the deck, and I still feel that way about it today. I'm one of those people that I have certain cards that I will go to, and it will help me decide whether or not I'm going to purchase a deck. It would be the Six of Swords, the Eight of Cups. Those cards definitely let me know if this is going to be a match made in heaven. In terms of like the majors, for me, I look to like the Death card, the Empress, the World card, the Hanged One or Hanged Man. I'm trying to think, the Hermit. So I have certain key cards that if it works for me, I'm probably going to get that deck. Also probably the Strength card as well. I also am very fond of the Sword suit. To me, this deck exudes a lot of swordsy energy. My sun sign is Aquarius, and I really am proud of that. If y'all don't know me by now, I'm like, I'm an Aquarius. And so this deck to me is very air energy. Oh, don't bite me, mosquito. Ultimately, this deck can be used by beginners, as there are nods to the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith meanings. And it will work it's especially work for seasoned readers. In particular, those who read intuitively, whether you're a beginner or not. It's sometimes hard to know when you're a new reader whether or not you are an intuitive reader, but you will know. Like if you are comfortable looking at the images and just kind of like what bubbles up to the surface is like what is the meaning for you for that card, that probably means that you're more of an intuitive reader. But I always say that you draw a lot of power into your readings when you know the card, the traditional card meanings, so there's that. Here's some more honest feedback though. So for me, it's strayed a little too far from the Rider-Waite-Smith, which is likely why I didn't use this deck often, if I'm to be perfectly honest. It can be read intuitively, which is a plus. And knowing what I know now about me as a reader, I probably could appreciate that more. Now more than ever. Not back when I unboxed this deck, but now more than ever. Let me see. What else did I put? And I mentioned that already. Oh, now one thing I will say about Los Scarabeo printing is I actually prefer this cardstock over the new cardstock that they've recently started making with their decks. I am not so much of a fan of the new stock that they have because it kind of chips. Even though it's borderless, it chips more easily. It's a little more difficult to shuffle. I guess a lot of people complain and lamented over the fact that the cardstock was flimsy, as people would say. I personally love the cardstock of the old Los Scarabeo decks. I am a riffle shuffler. I also overhand shuffle, and I need flexibility in my cards. So I appreciated that a lot about this deck. So yeah, that's what I've got to say about the Tarot of the Sweet Twilight in terms of my honest feedback. All right, so now we get to it. Where is the deck? You probably noticed I don't even have it in my hand. I'm waiting for you guys to vote on a deck that I actually have. Spoiler alert. I sold the deck. I don't have the deck anymore. I'm pretty sure I sold it or I gave it away. And sadly, I probably got rid of it before I started tracking what the decks that were once in my collection that I moved on. I'm going to ask my son. There's a possibility I gave it to him, but I'm pretty sure I sold it. No, I'm pretty sure I sold it like maybe a year and a half after owning it to the bookstore. There's a bookstore in my old hometown that I always would sell my decks. They always buy my decks. I can't wait to be there in a few weeks, and I'm going to be selling them quite a few decks. I'm hoping they're ready. I hope they're ready. And also I have a friend that I found out, she just started a YouTube channel, I heard, and I'm going to see if she wants some of my decks that I'm planning to sell. So we'll go from there. But I sold it. I don't have it. And this might be one of those decks that I may later revisit. I may later repurchase it again. I just love the art style, and I really did have great intentions for using it in shadow work type readings. And now that I've evolved more as a reader, I'm curious to see if now that I'm more evolved, would I appreciate that deck more? So we'll see. This just bears its own little section, even though I mentioned it before in just a minute ago. Would I buy this deck again? Maybe. I love the art style. I love the take on the traditional meanings. I could even see myself using it in client readings now, honestly. Before, when I got the deck, when I was working with it, I was a little frustrated because I was thinking I could really only use this deck. My comfort level was only to the point of just doing readings for myself. But I don't usually do love readings on myself, to be honest. I might, every new year, I'll do a love general look for myself and my husband. My husband and I have known each other for so many years, and we've been together for so many years. I'm not really called to do love readings for myself. So, that's why I say maybe. I'm hoping that it will be a much better shadow deck. And I'm curious to hear from you all. If you own this deck or were planning to get it, how are you planning to use it? And did you end up using it in that way? And how do you use the deck now? Or if you don't own the deck yet, what are your intentions for how you will use it? Let's talk my final thoughts. Okay, so I mentioned in the video, the unboxing video, that I have planned to have this deck to just pull off the shelf and look at the card images. And I find that interesting that I said that back when, because I don't really feel that way now. Now, when I get a deck, it really needs to have I really need to be able to work with it. Its purpose for me needs to be something that, yes, I appreciate the artwork. Yes, I enjoy it. Yes, it's a, glorious piece of art. That's what our tarot and oracle decks are. But I want to be able to work with my decks. Even if I had unlimited space, unlimited money, unlimited time to collect decks, at the end of the day, I just want decks in my collection that I use. So yeah, I wanted to mention that because I was listening to the unboxing video and I was like, I said that. And I know I've said it on a few occasions where I was like, oh yeah, I don't care if I don't use it. I just love the art style. Well, I've evolved from that as well. I don't really feel that way anymore. And that could change perhaps, but it's been like that for me. Over the last year, especially, I say now going on 2 years, the decks that come to my collection have to be something that I'm using, or it has to have a purpose, a specific type of reading I'm using, or it just has to make sense to why I'm adding it to the collection. So that's it, guys. I'm curious to hear your thoughts, about this deck. If you happen to come across unboxing that I did, new or old, and you're curious, particularly the old unboxings, because that's probably where there's a lot of information about where is this deck now. Let me know in the comments section. I will put it up for a vote or just bust out a recording for you to hear about what ended up happening. Because like I said, I want to be transparent with all of you. So many times us YouTube tarot content creators, especially those who deal in collecting decks, We just show you the fun part. We show you the flip throughs, the walkthroughs, the unboxings. When we receive a deck as a gift. And, you might see one time or two times that we talk about it, but you don't hear much further about it. I think that is important to share with everyone the full experience of a particular deck. That's just what I'm about, is transparency. So there you have it, folks. Thank you all so much for watching. If this video worked for you, please hit the like button. It helps the channel. And if you want more content and you like me, hit the subscribe button, because I'd love for you to be in the Abundant Life Tarot family. Much love, many blessings to all of you. I'll see you all in the next video.